guy alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon By. Taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Frank from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
Peep it. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I am your host, Nate, and joining me from his own personal snow fort is the Bumble to my Cornelius, John Visworm. John, how is your shoveling form lately?
Nate, it's strong to quite strong, I would say. It's never ending, man. It's every time I look outside, it's another inch or two to 10 that I have to move manually off my property. But I'm actually like the dork who took a tape measure to the end of my driveway just to kind of loosely see how high the snow bank was, and it was just above 6 feet.
That's perfect snow fort height, man. You got to start digging in there and building a little hole for Gus.
Yeah, but all it does is then lead to like my neighbor's yard where his dog pees and shits. So It's like, what, you know, like I don't need a snow fort for my kid who already loves to eat snow, no matter where he finds it, to go into a minefield of piss and fecal matter from their dog.
That was my favorite part about snow as a kid, is like digging the huge tunnels on those massive snowbanks that the snowplows would leave behind. And yeah, you're right. You just sit in there and eat snow, all by yourself in the quiet solitude of your snow fort. Just grabbing handfuls of snow off the wall and eating it.
Just think about this, Nate. If you would have spent your time, instead of doing that, maybe like playing soccer, working on your touch.
It's not like I was doing that when I was like 14.
I mean, I wasn't judging.
Well, maybe I'm
not being an ageist.
Nothing wrong with eating snow, man. So
anyways,
big time news has hit the airwaves this week. So we've got a real front to back city show for you all. The U23 schedule was revealed on Tuesday, so we want to walk you through that and get you ready for what is basically double the soccer this summer, which is awesome. We're deep into player signings, so John and I will profile the latest, newest announcement. But first, John, your interest has been piqued by some recent DA discussions on the Twitter machine, has it not?
It has, Nate. Why don't you dive into it, and I will. You do such a good job of teeing me up to my angrily rants.
I didn't realize there was going to be an old granddad rant coming, but so this week the Minnesota United reporter for The Athletic and city board member Jeff Reuter published an interview with Bill McGuire, who's, of course, the owner of Minnesota United. And in the article, the subject of the United Academy comes up. Really, the interesting quote is that currently, Minnesota United website lists academy participation fee that is capped at $1,500 for U15 players and $2,000 for U13s and U14s. That's a pretty hefty fee for an academy. And the article says, speaking to The Athletic earlier this winter, of course, Manny, your favorite, disputed the idea that this made the Loons set up a pay-to-play operation. But if you have to pay $2,000 in order to be on the DA, that is the definition of a pay-to-play operation. I
just want to note that real quick.
Yep, just a quick side note. And I guess Bill McGuire's quote was, one of the problems is not every kid can pay $2,500 to play in an organized unit. Are we going to forego all the opportunities of the sport because they can't be on the team? No, we have to make this available to everybody. And I'm going to say you're doing a bang-up job, Bill. But that set off an interesting discussion on Twitter that really led to the club, Minneapolis City, that is, taking an interesting stance that got me thinking. So, John, you know Ted Croton from the Stegman's Internationals days, right?
Yeah.
And I follow his free play model of soccer club Joy of the People on Twitter because Olin plays there for free play, plays there and plays with them in the summer and stuff. So Ted / the Joy of the People account jumps into this conversation,
just salivating,
tweets
like a dog waiting for a tennis ball to be thrown.
He loves the analytics of it all. He loves the philosophy and like the literal like theory behind his free play model. So he tweets at Jeff Reuter with some analytics. He's got this graph that shows that almost half of the U13 to U15 Academy, Minnesota United Academy kids were born January to March, and he says that United's chance of producing professionals from their academy is heavily reliant on January birth dates, and that reveals they'll struggle to develop pro products. It's not about market size, which Bill McGuire notes in the article. Really, it's that United are looking for the wrong things. And in a nutshell, what Ted's saying is that this January birth date problem is an indicator that the team has picked their kids, not necessarily because they're the best players, but because they're the most physically mature, which is not the formula for success once every kid is physically mature down the road, right? So I retweeted that and basically said, I kind of like the laugh crying emojis and said, imagine paying $2,500 a year from age 12 just to get cut from the United at 18. It feels to me like the ultimate scam, right?
Well, here's the thing so I have a January birth date, but I'm not like the kid held back, that like waited an extra year to play.
Yeah.
Because I have a January birthday. So there's some credence to kids that were born earlier on in the year because of their exposure to actual athletic movement at an earlier age than kids that are born later in the year. Like that, it's actually just sports science. I looked it up because I saw some stat that was similar to this a long time ago. That was like, it was something like 35% of professionals in, I believe it was in Spain, at the high level were born in January and February.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm a January birthday. I'll go play in Spain. Like
interesting. Yeah.
But so part of it has to do with part of it is people will hold their kids back a year because they're like, oh, well, I want my kid to be bigger, faster, stronger. And then, the other thing is like the science behind it, where kids are just exposed to more life experiences than a kid born in December of that year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing is, now that youth soccer has moved to the calendar year system, right? It's about, if you're in 06, you are born from January of 06 to December of 06. It's not school year anymore, like when you were growing up. So there really is something to that. Although, like, as we've found, you're as tall as me. It doesn't matter how old you get or when you were born, you can always get caught up to by some of these people,
right?
As you grow up. But really,
you're right.
In the course of this discussion, the club Minneapolis City replies to one of my tweets and says, "Academies are a lucrative lie for clubs pre U16." And I want to get your thoughts on that because that's an interesting take from someone who I'm assuming runs that Twitter account named Dan Hudeman.
So basically, from a perspective of academies, like we're not in that business, so it's tough for us to be, to align with that, right? Like we're exploring a U19 team as basically our academy team. We're built on the premise of adult men's soccer.
Yeah.
And so when we start talking about academy pieces, you have to then take out, what our view as a club is and sprinkle in a little bit more of your personal view, I guess. So a little bit of that shined through from our response as a club. But in general, like over my time, whether it was playing youth soccer or being connected to youth soccer, I just didn't ever see the need to focus on putting all of the best players into one bucket and then having them trot around and play people.
Yeah.
And the cost at which comes with that is very high for a couple different reasons. I mean, organically you'll get those club teams that back in the day where like actually the team that Stegman was our coach and we came from, there was just something in the water in our area, and our like local youth club just had all the players within a 2-year range that were really good at soccer.
Right.
But as I grew older, like because of my skill level increasing as I got older, I was shepherded into the pre kind of DA teams before there was a DA, where we were sending tournament teams to places like Indianapolis for the weekend to play against teams from Chicago and from Milwaukee and from Michigan. So I was part of this, so I don't want to speak that too ill about it, but when it comes to the pay model for that, I think you're right in saying, like, how can you really charge someone X amount of dollars when they're 12, and then expect that to be a reoccurring thing that just like a subscription almost until they hit 18 and be like, you're not good enough anymore. Like you're going to catch flack for that, but that's just the gravity of the situation where in America, the DA is our highest level of youth soccer. So
which is
people are going to be shepherded there because of their skills and also their ability to pay for it.
Totally.
But when you look at other MLS teams, their academies are free. So
interesting.
Yeah, like not all academies are pay for play.
Well, and the ones in Europe generally aren't to our level either, right?
No, they pay you.
I mean, it's a thing that, like, think about like Ajax, which has one of the most successful academy systems in Europe. They've got all these kids that come up through their system. I think they've got one of the youngest starting lineups in their league and in Europe in general, and it's all because they're developing those kids from 16 and up. But still, in general, as you look at these kids, you look at Modric or Shaqiri or anyone that has came up in a European system, a European academy, they really didn't join or glom onto their academy that gave them their break until they were like 18, 19 years old. It's really rare to find someone like Aaron Ramsey who was with their club for, since U11.
I mean, or like you look at the guys from like the class of '92 at United, like that. Yeah, gone are those days. And I think the reason why you get that in Europe is it's not that way anymore is because there's a market now to not buy and sell youth talent. I mean, technically, yes.
You're speculating on it, right?
It's almost like playing the lottery. You're buying the ticket, and then if it doesn't hit, then you buy another ticket.
Yeah.
So the age at which the ticket is being purchased is lowering every year as kids are becoming more advanced at younger ages. So, it's tough to have that anymore. But I think in the United States, there's just so many more players at the youth level that the pay-for-play model in some way or another weeds out the people who just aren't serious about it.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that coin, it alienates the people who are absolutely tailor-made for that experience but can't afford it.
Yeah.
So it also, the one thing that we haven't touched on yet is the cost for coaching has increased. So you're looking at people who are professional coaches and they're coaching 12, 13, 14-year-olds.
Right.
Like that their job is to be a coach. Back in the day, it was more of like an old German dude who used to play at the club who is now donating his time to coach kids.
Living in the shed.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's mowing the game field during the day and then coaching a youth team at night and then having a couple pops at the bar before he goes home, and that's his day.
That's
so you would get that. You didn't get that influx of increased payment for playing until you had to pay for quality trainers. So then you throw into there the need to have USSF licensing into that.
Yep.
So the coaches or the clubs have to pay to get these coaches certified to the level that they desire. And there's just a lot of currency and transactions and cash changing hands to get coaches certified and to get quality coaches, because gone are the days where a parent could be coaching a U18 team, right? Like
that shit's not going to fly.
Yeah, like it may be like a parent who has a kid like Ted, like he could be coaching a U18 team with his kid on it, but he's not just going to be rando parent in charge of a soccer team.
I mean, this is the guy that was running the Blackhawks organization for some time. He can do it. I will not be able to.
Right, and it's not to say anything against your coaching abilities, but it's just a different game now.
The very positive.
Yeah, the competitive nature of youth soccer is increasing to a point where development and player identification is going by the wayside.
Yeah,
and that ladders up into why our national teams don't succeed at the highest level.
I think
because. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really key point to make, is that this level of competition is starting to seep into lower and lower age groups, to the point where I think Dan on Twitter this weekend had an anecdote that like his kids, the other parents at his kids' U6 like little kickers were starting to talk to him about like what his kids' plan is and what the approach is, and if they're doing the right thing. And I'm like, if you're in your own head as a father of a 6-year-old, as to whether or not you're preparing him correctly to be successful in soccer, you already lost.
100%. Yeah, you might as well just start burning $100 bills.
You're already focusing on the wrong thing.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because I was talking to Dan later in the day after he mentioned that on Twitter, and I said, well, you should do what I did. So a little quick side story. So I was back home in Wisconsin, staying with some family and my niece when we came in town on a Friday night. Before, pretty late, but before. I mean, she's 11. She was like, "Oh, Uncle John, I have a soccer game tomorrow. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'll come. With you guys." So I'm just standing there, like talking to my brother-in-law. And he leans over and he's talking to the person on the other side. So then I'm just randomly by these parents. And this guy just starts like going on about like the formation these kids are running and all this stuff. And I'm not saying anything to him because I have zero dog in the font, Yeah. I really don't care. I'm kind of hungover from the night before. I'm really just there to support my niece. And like, I just like being around soccer. So whatever, I'm just standing there. So he leans over to me and he's just like complaining about stuff, and then he's like, "Well, which kid's yours?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm just here visiting. My niece is playing." And he's like, "Yeah, like," he just starts telling me all about like his philosophy on soccer, and like I just casually ask him like, "So like, did you play?" And he's like, "Oh no, I was a football, American football guy growing up, but I'm really starting to get into soccer." And he's like, "Well, if your brother-in-law and sister-in-law are interested, I can send them some information on supplemental training tactics and things that their daughter can do to get better." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I was like, "Well, why don't you just send me an email?" And then I handed him my Minneapolis City business card.
You fucking fool. Get out of my face.
Yeah. Needless to say, that guy did not email me. No. But I was like, "Dan, why don't you just carry a stack of like 2 or 3 of those?"
That's
and when
a
U6 parent starts telling you about what you should be doing, just hand it to them and then, be nice about it. But I mean, like, it just, to kind of close the gap on this, or the loop on this conversation, I don't think that you're ever going to get rid of the pay-for-play model, and I actually don't think that soccer should ultimately be free always.
Right.
I think there's a point in time, like when I talked about the whole paying for the trainer aspect of it, like you have to reward the people who are training your kids.
Yeah.
But it should not be the gate that shuts for people who
6 to 16. If
right.
you don't have the money to participate in something like that, if you don't have supplementally $1,500, all the way up to $2,000 a year, like, sorry, your kid can't play.
Right. I mean, I'll give a good example of like when I played with Bavarians as a youth. There were club dues nowhere near $2,500.
Right.
But there were club dues, and there were some families from more underserved communities that they're like my teammates. They were awesome soccer players, and one of them went on to be to do really good things in the game domestically and played a little bit abroad, and his family couldn't afford the fees, and it wasn't where then the club went to the rest of the parents were like, well, you got to make this money, so why don't you guys foot the bill for these other kids? They offered opportunities for those families to volunteer their time to help out with the club in other aspects in order for their child to be able to participate in the pay-for-play model, essentially. So that's the kind of things where I'm talking about, like, don't close the gate. Like, let the gate swing a little bit, right? And allow people there to have a way in, but maybe not necessarily always tied to financials. As we know in soccer at this level or youth level, volunteering time is almost more valuable than writing a check.
Absolutely.
Like, people will write a check so they don't have to volunteer if they can. So, like, in our, I'll give one more example. Like, in our case for our players, that's where we use some of our sponsorship dollars is to cover, like, a college kid who can't afford to pay. I mean, we don't have high fees like that, but we have a little bit of a fee to help cover some things because we're a non-for-profit, right?
Yep.
But we offer those players other ways to get around that. Like, some, maybe there's season ticket referral plans where if they can get a few of their family members or their friends to buy a season ticket, then we reduce their rate. Things along those lines. Or some guys volunteer more community service hours. We just have to start thinking about that. But I don't think Bill McGuire or Manny Lagos or anyone connected to MLS who has a DA is thinking about how they can get a kid from an area that can't afford to pay that. Right. That's really good. They're not thinking of ways where his parents can volunteer with the club.
Yeah, I think the last organization that's thinking about how to improve access to the game for the entire country is the MLS. But so I think really knowing Minneapolis City's take on this, that academies are a lucrative lie for pre-U16, this is kind of a signal for anyone who out there who might have hopes one day of the kind of organization that City will grow to be, that it will maybe expand to include a youth academy. I think there's your answer, right? Philosophically, it's just not something that the club is aligned with. Thus, like you mentioned, the approach of building from the top down with U23s, adding the U19s, that sort of thing. That's where the real heat is. That's where the talent starts to emerge, and that's where we want to start looking.
Right, exactly. I mean, I can't stress enough that, like, our top-down model is not successful for everyone, but the reason why our pyramid is growing from the top down instead of from the ground up is because we're identifying that there's consistently more talent that's coming to us at a younger age.
Yep.
So we have to create the space for them. So that's why our pyramid is growing down. And that's just how we work. And it's not for everybody, and bottom up isn't for us. So
there we go. The team continues their trickle of player announcements this week. I think it's coming slow and steady, and we're waiting for the floodgates to open. But for now, we've got another name that any City fan is going to be excited for.
Yes, we do, Nate, and that is Mr. Will Kidd, because Will Kidd is on fire and your defense is terrified. As we learned a few weeks back on the show, I think the citizens should be brushing up on that song for the summer. But anyways,
yes.
we've had the luxury to have Will with our club since year one. And actually, to note, Will was a open trial participant. If for all of you open trialists out there listening, when we announce our next open trial, which we will be able to announce next week. But he's been with us since year one, and not just watching him grow as a player, but as a person over these few years has been awesome. And we've just benefited from his successes that he's had throughout that growth period, which included him going on total beast mode last year on the NPSL and being named all conference and then ultimately all Midwest region. Mm-hmm. Over his time with City, he has logged just under 3,000 minutes with 2,839 minutes, and he is the all-time club leader in goals with 11 and all-time club leader in assists with 8. And here's a shocking stat: only one yellow card, Nate.
That's pretty good considering he ramped up his physicality last year.
Well, and considering that it came after he was just thrown into the parking lot by a guy from Twin Stars last year. So basically they gave both of them a yellow card, even though he's the one that took it. But yeah, I mean, I'll let you dive in. And
Excellent signing, obviously. I'm glad, super glad he can come back. Every consecutive year that Will has played for Minneapolis City, he has elevated his game to the next level. Right, last summer his goal, as we talked to him, I had an interview after that Twin Stars game, and he kind of stated in a number of conversations that I had with him that his goal was to be more of a leader and bring that added level of passion to his game to prepare himself for his senior season at St. Thomas by grabbing on that more front and center role with the Crows. And once he grabbed onto that role, man, he did not let go. Because you fast forward, and all of a sudden he's the captain of the Tommies, returning to us after raking in almost every accolade that the school could bestow upon him. All conference, all region, D3 All-American, academic all-conference. And then he was named MVP by his Tommy soccer teammates. So the question that I'm excited to see answered this coming season is, what now is Will's next level? Right? What will he show us this season, especially when he's paired up with some familiar faces that we might still have to announce this spring?
I think his next level for me, it's kind of hard to answer that question because you just don't know with a player like Will what his next level could be.
Yeah.
I think like we mentioned, he got more vocal. He led by example. And I said, beast mode where I joked with him every week after a game where I'd take a picture of one of the defenders and I'd text it to him and tell him to put it on his summer 2018 calendar of guys that he owned.
Yeah.
On his poster that he posterized those guys. But, I think that from a perspective of the position that Will's in, where he's deployed out wide, he does a lot of the dirty work on the defensive end, which is awesome for a winger, but he also takes guys on. And I think that the next step for him with soccer is completely being a game changer to where he can just take over a match single-handedly. And I say that with an example. So if you remember in year one with us, when Goose was fearless and he was basically, he'd get the ball and you'd have to draw two defenders, maybe sometimes three on him, or just completely blow him apart to foul him to stop him. Like teams were not ready for that because they didn't know who he was. Fast forward a few years, teams could scheme for him, but I think that now Will needs to take his game to a level where he becomes more of a marked man. And he draws more attention, and then what he can do with the ball and with his movement off the ball to use their tactics of focusing on him to create better chances for his teammates.
Interesting.
And then obviously finishing all of his chances, right? Or a higher rate of chances. So
Yeah.
I think that's the only next step for him is how can he single-handedly take over a game outside of just working hard.
What's funny is that this is, the second off season in a row where we've been excited about a Tommy joining after his senior season. And last year it was Shea who never was able to make it work. This year it's our old friend Will, who I would say is probably a little more proven as a great addition to our team than Shea was at the time. Shea was definitely, we could only speculate what he would do in the NPSL, but we knew what he could do with the Tommies. Now with Will, it's like we know what we're getting, and we're getting a pretty kick-ass player. Hopefully people are really excited for Will Kidd to return.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. I mean, unfortunately with Shea, like your day job takes over once you graduate, and that sucks. But I think with Will, it's like, man, like Bradley did not know what they had in Will Kidd. Like, you know what I mean? And honestly, with all due respect to St. Thomas, I don't think they knew what they had in Will Kidd either.
Not at first.
Even last year in his senior year, I think deploying him as a center midfielder that's not how you win games with Will Kidd.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he can play there and he's going to do a good job because he's a hard worker and he's good at soccer, but you should scheme around a guy like Will with having a player who can play center mid so Will can be an attacker. And we do scheme around that, Nate, and I'm excited to see what Will Kidd can do next year, and just super glad to have him around. Now that he's not in college anymore, well, he's not playing college soccer anymore, he's able to participate more in our preseason.
Yeah.
So I get to see him once a week, and he's always got something funny to say. And I just like having him around. I don't know what I'm going to do one day when he's not there.
It's going to be sad.
So, we also had some news come out, Nate. All winter, we've been behind the scenes, we meaning myself and the other members of the front office staff, working on a super top secret, yet super hard to put together U23 game schedule. And on this show, you and I continuously teasing bonus soccer for members to enjoy.
It's coming.
And now,
it's here.
Finally, I can come to you, the people, with the entire schedule in all its glory today. More soccer for you friends to snack on. So let me run it down a little bit, and I'll dive into it, and then I'll let you provide some thoughts.
Yeah.
So May 25th, 7 p.m. away at the UPSL Union Dubuque in Iowa. June 2nd, 7 p.m. at home against USL 2 side, the Green Bay Voyagers, the USL 2 affiliate of Madison Forward and of the Minnesota United.
Ooh.
June 8th, 7 p.m. away at everybody's favorite Bug Eaters, the Nebraska Bug Eaters. I don't know what league they're in, but they were in the UPSL. So June 10th, 7 p.m. away, USL 2 Green Bay Voyagers again. So we do a home and a home with them.
Yep.
June 15th, 7 p.m. against Berea FC. If you remember from last year, Berea is a team we played in our first season, and I'll get into them in a little bit. June 26th, 7 p.m. away at Rochester FC of the UPSL. Brand new UPSL team. Midhat Mujicic, who was the captain of Med City for the past 2 seasons. This is his new outfit that he's starting in Rochester.
Sweet.
June 29th, 3 p.m. away at the Des Moines Wanderers of the UPSL. This is the startup that is going to take the model of the Menace, but at a less U23 age focus. So you're going to have a little bit of older players that are coming through that Des Moines outfit. July 6th, 7 p.m. away at Hayward United in Wisconsin, of brand new team out of the UPSL. July 10th, 6:30 p.m. home against everyone's favorite club, Stegman 77s. Gotta obviously always have a Stegman's game in there.
Yeah.
July 13th, 4 p.m. neutral site match against the Milwaukee Bavarians U23s. Early indicators are it'll probably be in the Wisconsin Dells again like it was last year.
Sweet.
I coached that team. We won 2-0. You guys can suck it.
Sweet trip.
July 20th, 7 p.m. home against Rochester FC. So again, the home and away there.
Mm-hmm.
July 26th, 7 p.m. at home against the Bug Eaters, another home and away. And then we finish up with August 3rd, 7 p.m. versus the UPSL team from Union Dubuque we started the season with. So that'll be a nice bookend series for us.
Yeah.
And then there's also, Nate, still the potential for us to maybe squeeze in 1, maybe 2 other matches that we could maybe put midweek. But a couple quick things to note. In year 1 last year, the schedule was weak, and I'll admit that from an organizational perspective. It was weak and it was disorganized. And in our player kind of post-mortem end of season meetings, exit interviews, they told us we needed to level up, and I think that we did, Nate. And I want to give credit to Adam Pribble moving into the role of athletics. Who would have thought a guy who was an athletic director who schedules facilities and game schedules for all sorts of sports would be really good at putting together a roster for us?
Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, who thought? So hats off to Adam for the work he did there. I'll only take credit for one of those games, and you probably can guess which one that is. The group of games that we have slated for the U23s obviously is strong. And again, I'll give you some time to chime in here in a second.
Sure.
But I think that it's much harder because most of these teams outside of Bavarians, Stegmans, and Berea are playing in an equivalent to on paper to what our NPSL team is playing in, if not stronger.
Yeah.
So I mean that in itself is something that should entice people to come out and watch, but also was a selling point that we had for when we signed our U23 players. We have our familiar faces, the Bug Eaters, Stegman 77s, Bavarian U23s. I mentioned Berea. For those of you who don't remember, Berea is a team that hails from the local African community, and they share the likes of players like E-Man, who played with us in the past, also Garganayu, who played with Duluth in the past, as well as quite a few other players who moonlight with Berea but also play at a higher level. Mm-hmm. And Martin Brown Jr. and Whitney also are heavily involved with Berea. So it's another club that not quite as connected to us as Stegman's is, but another club that's connected to us through our affiliations with our players. Yeah. Then we have the new faces. We have Dubuque, Green Bay, Rochester, and Hayward. I think out of that, Green Bay is really the marquee matchup for this team this year, seeing that is connected down the pipeline from an MLS team when you think of the tiered system. And we all know, actually, some of you may not know, but we're losing a few players from our NPSL team that will.
We've kind of talked about that like we're not going to re-sign everyone. Some people move on and that sort of thing.
Right, exactly, and some guys have moved on to that team, so it'll be a little bit of a homecoming, if you will, when Green Bay comes into town. But their team is probably going to be the strongest, if not one of the strongest that the U23s will be playing. Yeah. When you talk about Dubuque, they were a mid-table team in a decent UPSL conference last year, and then Rochester and Hayward being new, you kind of don't know what to expect there. As well as the Des Moines Wanderers, I expect them to be strong, but who knows until the ball's rolling out. Another thing to note, Nate, is that there's more travel this year for the team. We only had a few away trips last year, and as we know, away trips bring all sorts of fun and hijinks, and guys get nicknames.
A lot of good bonding, but also a lot of bills to pay.
Yep, a lot of bills to pay, and also my next point, it creates a lot of logistical challenges for the club. If you were hearing some of those dates I'm throwing out, we're actually going to be having some coinciding away trips. So NPSL and U23s will be out of town or playing on the same dates, maybe one in town, one out of town.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule. It's like some of these games are a day after our games, that sort of thing, and that means that the coaching staff has to be light on their feet.
Right, and also our logistical staff does. Yeah. So also wanted to mention too that more away games means more exposure for our brand outside of Minnesota. We're well known in lower division soccer across the United States for one reason or another, but also globally because of one reason or another. But to have our club go and play games in other states against other teams is one real good way to not only put our money where our mouth is when it comes to the talent that we put out, but also to be good guests and to travel well if people are going to go watch those games, and just spread our brand all over the Midwest is basically what I'm saying, and just to validate that we're awesome. That we're a good group of folks and we like to play good soccer, and I think that kind of goes back to what the Bavarians always do. Like, we're going to respect you, but we're going to play you. We're going to play whoever, anywhere, and we don't care. You know what I mean? So I think that'll be great. And like I said, we're exploring more games, but this is the base of the official schedule, and there could be some opportunity in there, as always, to toss in a game against a little known team in the area called the Minnesota United.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those guys. But that's definitely not going to be a game that will be available to the public.
One day I
sellable
hope
for U23, but I think this is the schedule that people are going to want to be planning their viewing around.
Right, exactly. So I did a lot of talking, Nate. Why don't you dive in with your thoughts
Well,
here?
I think this is awesome. I think 14, something like 13, 14 games is pretty solid. My biggest question, John, is do we have any details as to the venue of these home games?
There's a couple of great question, Nate. Like I didn't know it was coming, but I still have a problem answering it, right?
Yep.
So it's not like a secret by any means, but we know it won't be Osseo.
Well, that's good. But it won't be Augsburg either, right?
Well, it may be Augsburg. I mean, there's some of those later games that potentially we could play at Augsburg, but probably not Augsburg. I think right now there's a couple leads that are out there, a couple facilities. One of them that kind of comes to top of mind is Northwestern University here. That they have a really nice facility. Greg Wheaton, who's the head coach there, has got a really good relationship with our club. And so I think that could be one, but we're working really hard on trying to, lock that in. But a lot of the dates and times that we have locked in with these teams coincide with a couple different venues that we've been looking at playing. We've looked at some high schools
They
too.
conflict with stuff they already have going on?
No, they do not.
Oh,
so
great.
It's more of like, can we get all of them at one location?
Right, probably not. But either way, it's still fun.
Right, exactly. So we're really trying to close the gap in the growing pains that we have for this team. And I think number one was last year what we heard was training's awesome. Ability to get called up to the MPSL team, visibly there, awesome. Games, want. Like,
yeah.
I didn't necessarily come back home from school to play 2-3 men's league teams.
Basically.
And not to say that those men's league team games weren't strong, or like we played the Sporting St. Croix
U19s.
U19s, and that was a good game, but still it's like
that's not really
they could have
stayed with their club and done that anyway.
Right, exactly.
I think this is an awesome opportunity for these guys. There's something to be said about the way that our younger players approach being a part of this club and the excitement that you can see when they're on tour with the team. And I think that giving the U23 squad an opportunity to experience that all together only really builds on that brotherhood. It's really, really, really cool, and I like that
brotherhood.
Baby brotherhood. I like that a lot.
It's almost like I write for a living.
Yeah, you don't.
I know.
I had a couple quick questions about these UPSL teams because is Des Moines and Hayward and Rochester they're all in the same division?
I believe so. Like, I'd love to tell you yes, but I just don't know with the UPSL.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know how that's organized because like Bug Eaters, I know we got that. I got that email as a supporter and a member that their UPSL division was disbanded, so the Bug Eaters are homeless.
I know that they joined a more regional league, but I don't really recall what it is.
Right.
But as far as like Des Moines and Dubuque, I honestly just don't know. There may be. It's obviously they're playing in the Midwest division, but when you look at the Midwest division, like, I find it real hard to believe that like the Croatians, Madison, Bavarians, who else was in that division?
Yeah, they split it up because there's this.
Was it Aurora?
There's a whole eastern side to that division too with with Aurora, of course, but then there's like who are the Panthers or the Elgin
Pumas,
yeah.
Elgin Pumas, yeah.
But it's like who knows what happened to our old friends in the PLA? It's like the Wild West in the new UPSL.
Well, Toledo, they moved into the MPSL.
Oh yeah,
that was just announced. So they're good. There. Oakland County. Yep. I don't know what's up with those fellas. So I mean, I honestly don't know where these teams go. But if you think about it, like your Michigan, your Illinois, your Wisconsin is probably the East Division. I'm guessing, and the West Division is Iowa, Minnesota, and then
And
portions of
probably would have
Wisconsin.
been Nebraska, Wisconsin, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Nebraska.
so-
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So I really don't know. I know that was part of the reason why the Bug Eaters don't continue to play
Because
in
they
the
don't want to drive
UPSL.
all the way to Minnesota to play
Right,
on a
exactly.
regular basis, yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I honestly, I wish I had an answer for you.
What's the
I don't know.
situation with Hayward? Like, how I've never heard that. I didn't know that Hayward had a semi-pro team because
Well,
that's not a huge town in Wisconsin.
It's not a huge town in Wisconsin, but it actually is a good soccer community. You know, knowing what I know about Wisconsin soccer, it's a youth club that's basically building a team that they can feed into. So basically, I mean, I don't know a ton about them, other than from a high school perspective. Super awesome at American football. Like, I think they have like a ton of championships.
Yeah.
But the soccer community there has grown, and they after they developed an organized youth system beyond rec soccer, it grew very fast, and there's been quite a few very talented players that have come out of there. So I think that they're seizing the opportunity, like a lot of people are, like the Wild West of, hey, I can start a semi-pro soccer team.
Yeah.
And the UPSL doesn't charge that much. So I anticipate it's going to be a very young team, but a very young and talented team. You know, it's not going to be the Green Bay Voyagers of the world, but it'll be, they'll be talented. They'll put out a good squad.
Cool, man. Well, I think like when you take a look at this schedule, it's super exciting, and there's plenty of opportunity to see some games that will last well beyond the end of the NPSL season, or at least the end of the NPSL regular season. You know, the U23s, as we've proven, are the next generation of Minneapolis City players, and there's already going to be some that are breaking through and joining the senior team. And I really encourage people to get out and watch the guys that are going to be breaking through next year, and by the end of this next season, they're exciting dudes. I like this a lot. I like how many games there are. I hope to be able to announce a couple of them.
Yes,
Especially
Nate,
that home against the Green Bay Voyagers. I really want to be in the booth for that.
I think we just call it the Steve Cup.
It was. Did you just spoil something?
No, not really. I mean, it's not necessarily public, but it's not necessarily hidden knowledge. But I think that's what we just call it, the Steve Cup.
All right. I think that would be great.
All right. So thus ends tonight's show. Thanks, as always, to our sponsor, Summit Brewing. It's almost spring, which means it's just about Maibach time, my friends. Actually, it is Maibach time, my friends. This sippable yet strong set of suds will quench your thirst while it helps you forget about the snow. Summit, a more meaningful brew since 1986. If giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it's time to give to the club that gives back. I don't know. It's tax season, so Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game. If you're... I got me, Nate. The closing got me.
You almost said it.
I missed a sentence there. Look for us this summer playing with kids in parks and community centers around the city, and consider a tax-deductible donation to a truly city-focused organization.
Nice.
Okay. And we go. And we continue. The Minneapolis City NPSL and, as we know now, U23 schedules are out, and they are packed with goodness. Now, people, now is the right time to grab that membership. The best deal in soccer. For only $80, you will get at least 10 NPSL home games, not to mention all of those U23 games we just mentioned that are at home. I believe 7 would be that number. Someone can fact check me later.
Yeah, I went 7. I figured 7 because we probably get them into that neutral location as well.
Sure. So 7 U23 games, a membership scarf, and the membership card that gets you deals on Summit beer at the official game day bar, Palmer's. Visit mplscitysc.com today and make it happen. Send us email. It's easy. Hit us up on Twitter. Twitter is @peoplespitch, or email is mcscpodcast@gmail.com. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit up the club and complain to them about everything at MPLS City SC. That's all for this week, folks. We once again leave you with our house MC, Miles Stockman Willis, aka Milays. I am John. That is Nate. Get those memberships, friends. This summer is gonna be packed. Fill the house, and you got hoofed.
I see the real you, yeah, boo, I found you. So don't ever frown when loneliness is around you. I'ma show you that someone should crown you, not clown you, but pursue virtue would never hurt you. Critical in distance, touch is digital, biblical. Till death, love is unconditional. Telling us we're a team and not two individuals. For you, I give my spleen, the spiritual and the physical. Loving what is fragile isn't always fixable, but I see what's invisible. See it with vex visuals. Grab my hand, hold it. We gon' think the unthinkable. I promise we will float, that our boat's unsinkable. I promise I'ma drown in you, let you drown in me. Reveal the recipe, you I love to overfeed. I love it. Let's proceed slowly, not go bad like moldy. Ravioli, rigatoni. Girl, I'm free falling for you. Still, temptation follows free. Just tell me when you fall for me, please. Just tell me when you fall. Free. Girl, I'm free falling for you. Still, temptation follows free. Just tell me when you fall for me, please. Just tell me when you fall. Temptation's about to give in, but I'm staying true. If I sin, may I be forgiven for a few. What we got to lose? Nothing. You just gotta listen. Such a good girl. Great. Just made a bad decision. One and done. She looking fine. Nothing missing. But got my hands tied like I'm the villain. Evil only swallows pride, but I'm sometimes kidding. Finger liquor kitty. After be the kittens. Cute shit. Kiss me softer than a baby's grip. New sense of high when she bites her lower lip. If she quit, make my heart skip, then snip. When we're together like ice cream mixed with some mint pepper. Shawty had to rescue my respiratory. Wants a man who's a man, that is mandatory. Only without her off the pad, like I never met with Dory. Help her write her story, take the qualms on her quarry. Girl, I'm free falling for you. Still, temptation follows free. Just tell me when you fall for me, please. Just tell me when you fall. Girl, I'm free falling for you. Still, temptation follows free. Just tell me when you fall for me, please. Just tell me when you fall. Selfie timeless as the rollie. Always be my plus one. Shawty is my bogey. In it for the long haul, not for the trophy. Every day, feeling greater than Tony's. Falling for her, and I think she falling for me too. I hope falling like two V's, make a W. Type of dude to build you up and make the rubble move. Type of dude to have my phone out all in front of you. Only cause you got my back. Presence always sets the mood. Never starts any trouble without any proof. No problems if there was, make the puzzle poof. Laugh it off. Goofballs, you should see the spoof. Girl, I'm free falling for you. Still, temptation follows free. Just tell me when you fall for me, please. Just tell me when you fall. Free. Girl, I'm free falling for you. Still, temptation follows free. Just tell me when you fall for me.